So, welcome to the Optimized Business. For those just joining us, I'm Nick Klink with Precision AI Partners. We help consultants and coaches scale using AI automation to acquire clients and deliver better results while working less. So, today we have an incredible guest. You can see here Jessica Martin. Jessica is the founder of Martin Management and one of the founders of Triage Business Consultants. So, since 2018, she's been helping dental and healthcare practices streamline operations, improve, patient experiences, and just grow their businesses. So beyond consulting, she is also balancing entrepreneurship with family life, just like I am. So hats off to her. Something many business owners and parents out there, I'm sure, can relate to. But Jessica, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. I've really been looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, thanks for having me, Nick.
Yeah, of course. And can you tell all the, listeners where you're calling in from? Where's home?
Yes, I'm in Wisconsin.
Yes. Cheesehead. So any Green Bay Packers fans out here, make sure you're listening. Jessica, I'd love to kick this off with kind of your journey, how you started in consulting, what maybe the early days sort of look like and how your work has evolved.
Yeah, so I'm actually a school psychologist by trade. So I had no plans to consult whatsoever. However, when I look back, I realized that I was actually consulting families and teachers in the school setting. I just didn't look at it that way. That wasn't my job title. And my husband's a dentist and he needed my help at our practice back in 2014. And so I got brought in to help run the practice. And then I couldn't help but look at ways we could make it better, ways we could grow it, and kind of put the psychology hat on dentistry and in healthcare. And what I was able to do for our practice really took off and helped us in a huge way. And so I had it probably 10, 20 people start to say, hey, what you're doing is amazing. You should help other healthcare businesses, others in dentistry, others in other forms of healthcare grow their business and be a consultant. And I said, no, no, no,
I
no.
was about to say, what was your initial thoughts there? Were you like,
I was like,
yes?
that seems, I mean, it sounds fun, but I don't know. I mean, how would I do that? And I heard it enough times that I thought, you know what, that actually, I'm going to give it a try. But of course, in the beginning, I thought it would be really easy to grow the business. I thought if I just documented all the processes that I had helped, change our practice,
Yeah,
that people would just buy that up and I could just be like passively earning an income through this. And
that would be amazing.
yeah, right? I was like, "Oh, I set up this website, I had this manual people could buy," and I did have a few clients do that, but what I realized was that, the DIY approach can work for some things, but for a lot of people, they need help with implementation, and so I quickly realized that I not only needed to have it all, documented, but I needed a way to help support the process of bringing it to their team, to actually putting the changes in place, and I had to change what I was doing to kind of pivot to meet the demands of what my clients needed. And so that was kind of a look at the early days where it was just like, I just thought it would be easier than it was to get those first few clients. And then what I thought I would be providing obviously changed quite a bit too.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, kind of that optimism, thinking, we'll just get it all on autopilot. They can just
Yeah.
mirror what I did
Right.
and, it's gonna be great. They're like reaching out to you, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help with this. How did you actually do this? So for our listeners, can you kind of share what you actually have kind of focused on in terms of changing with some of these practices to kind of make a customer experience better and just kind of like what you actually focus on when you work with these different healthcare companies?
Yeah, so it depends on the business. I mean, I think in areas of healthcare where there's a little bit of patient anxiety, what we can really look at is how to make the actual experience the patient has with whatever treatment they're receiving better. So for a lot of my dental clients and even like in other fields like gynecology where, it's very vulnerable, right? I can teach the team
Hmm.
how to really be compassionate about that and give them some strategies for, making the sensory experience different. So I think it's my background as a school psychologist. I realized that a lot of what people don't like is that how their body feels when they're receiving treatment. And so there's a lot of negative sensory input that we have. There's bright lights, there's weird machines, there's tools and instruments that look a little bit scary and intimidating. You might be going inside a person's body, like going in their mouth is very intimate, right? I know we don't think of it
Yeah.
that way, but it really is. People are very self-conscious about it. And so how can we help their sensory system to calm down so that it feels like a better experience that isn't so vulnerable, that puts them in a better state of mind, that gives their body that time to relax and receive the treatment better. So it can look like that for healthcare practices that or clients of mine that have that anxiety component. But for other types of business where there isn't really that anxiety, it's really just
Hmm.
about looking at the patient journey and seeing what can we lean into that would make it more delightful. Like, is it how we greet people? Is it how we check people out? Is it how we follow up? What are the things that we have in place? What are the systems that we're putting in place to run our business and run people through that journey that we could make just a little bit better? And what are the things that maybe are putting people off that we don't even realize because it's just how we've always done things? So, a lot of
Hmm.
times when I work with a client, I go and I am actually able to observe the team in action because I want to see what do those details look like and how are the patients reacting? How are they receiving those interactions with the team? And then how can we adjust it to make it even better?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question because, like, how do you even identify those sort of areas where a potential patient or an existing patient is uncomfortable? You can see you'd be like, that didn't land well, or this could have been done a completely different way. I guess the only real way is kind of getting there in person, or reviewing a bunch of recordings or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of my challenge in scaling is that is a component of it, and so it does limit how many clients I work with because I can't be traveling all over the place. I have a family, as you had mentioned. So, but I have come up with other ways. Like a lot of practitioners and teams are self-aware and they kind of know where they realize where they're maybe not meeting expectations, or even if they're getting reviews back from their clients and or
That's
patients, and
true.
the patients saying this component was off-putting, or they're getting that feedback. There are ways we can kind of identify where those issues are, but there's nothing like being on site. It's really profound to see what they're doing well, and we can reinforce that, which is important, but also identifying where we can make some really small adjustments that would make a big difference.
Nice. So has part of it kind of been doing it, like getting some of that survey information back? Like, so if you kind of started working with a client, you go there, you check it out, you see some things to improve. Do you guys implement some surveys to see kind of, how the patients actually feel with the changes you've made?
Yes, I always recommend asking for patient feedback. That's the only way we really know for sure how things are landing, and that's the only way we can make things better. Yes, absolutely. Most clients, I think, are already doing that. They're just maybe not adjusting to what
Yeah.
they don't know how. They don't know how to make it better. So they just kind of like that person wasn't very happy. Oh well,
Yeah.
and then they start to get uncomfortable when there's a lot of that. And then that's when I can get in there and go, all right, like let's look at what the patterns are. And maybe it's like a person in the wrong seat, right? Like maybe the person that is, doing that check in or check out, like isn't
Yeah.
the type of personality that's going to give that good impression. And so we just need to shift some things.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that, kind of arriving at any office and, whether that person's maybe had a bad day or is this, they're just really been working here for a couple of years and you can tell they don't like enjoy it anymore. But
Right.
that does kind of suck the experience out of it, which is a last name.
Right.
Okay. All right. Here, fill this out. And it's like, there was no like, hey, how's it going? None of that. And that does make it a little bit less fun for everybody. So,
And then that poor provider can do the most amazing job at whatever service they're doing. But if the team around them isn't able to also delight the patient, like then it makes it really hard to grow the business, to keep patients or clients coming, getting them excited to refer other people when a component of the experience is negative. It's just like, oh well, that wasn't the best. And we're not gonna grow.
it's true, and it's a good point, honestly, because most of the time where I meet with a provider, they're, like, cracking jokes, they're in a great mood, they're having fun. Like,
Yeah.
99% of the time, the provider is in amazing mood, and they're enjoying what they do, but I do feel like it's more of the team members that, have to deal with maybe some of the more mundane things that sometimes they're not in the best mood, but identifying that and maybe finding the right person there or, even just talking about how important it is to the business and the customer, you know, that makes sense.
Honestly think there are people on the team that don't realize the impact that they have. They devalue like their role in keeping patients or clients happy. They think, well, I'm just a piece of it. Like I'm not the doctor. I'm not the main person here. I'm not the owner. I just have to do my little piece, but that little piece could make a big difference in terms of how the patient feels, if they're going to get more treatment, how much money they're going to spend. Like, people spend on emotions. So when we can really make it delightful versus disappointing, now we've got a really happy person that's ready to buy, ready to refer, ready to help us grow.
Yeah, 100%. We all said, "Do you have a good dentist?" Like, "I love mine. You should totally check them out." That's how I go to the office I'm at right now. I'm a friend who said, "I love my office. You should go there." That's awesome. So, in terms of kind of growth, like on the growth side of things, when you were brought in to consult for some of these different practices, what's some of the growth that you've been able to see in that practice has been able to experience by fixing some of these issues that maybe they weren't aware of, or maybe they just didn't think had the impact that it actually does? Have you seen some pretty crazy growth?
Yes. I mean, I have clients that are seeing like new patient numbers double, triple, quadruple, right? Because when they can really make people feel better, that's an attraction to their business because like you said, people will ask other people, "Where do you go? Do you like it there?" And it just starts to kind of feed itself. I also see retention numbers really better. We obviously don't want to bring in a bunch of new people and then lose people out the back door. So making sure
True.
that the people that are there, your existing patient base or clientele are happy, that's important. Also, just like case acceptance, I'm like talking about dentistry specifically, but how much money people are willing to spend. You see those numbers increase substantially. Some of my clients, my ultimate goal for all of my healthcare clients really is to have less dependence on insurance because it's such a suck of the business. I mean, we're having being in network with insurance and private practice healthcare is really difficult. Like, a lot of adjustments. We discount the services that we can provide people because we have to be in these network relationships. And when we can have either no relationships with insurance, meaning we're still going to maybe take it, but we're not going to take an adjustment. We're not going to take a huge discount on it and still bring in a lot of people and keep a lot of people. Now we're actually seeing the business thrive as opposed to just survive. And so that is my ultimate goal for most of my healthcare clients is really to increase that dependence so that they can rely on it less and less and keep more of the money that they're actually producing. And so when we can improve the patient experience and the patient journey, those are things that now we can hang our hat on that as opposed to, oh, we're in your insurance network. And so you
We're
should.
in your network. Well, how does you I mean, can you walk me through how that would actually be done? So I can't imagine. So your insurance, you're in network, but you would still have to pay. Can you explain the adjustment side of things? Maybe I'm a little bit confused here.
Yeah, so like I'll use dental as an example because major medical's a different ball game. Usually, healthcare providers that are going to take insurance in a major medical setting, like let's just say like a gynecologist, right? Like they're either going to be in network with a company or they're not going to probably deal with insurance because there's not really an out of network option in major
Mm,
medical typically.
right. That does. Yeah, makes
In
sense.
dental, it's different. In dental, there's out of network benefits that most people don't even realize they have because we've just been trained like I have to go where I'm in network because that's how major
Yes.
medical is. So in dental, the process is really to identify, okay, what are the networks that are you're in network with them as a provider, but by being so, you're taking a 30%, 40% discount on your service. And
Mm,
so it's really a loss. And so if we can say, we're not going to be in your network anymore. We're still going to take your insurance, but as a patient, you'll continue to get benefits here, but they'll be out of network benefits. It might change a little bit, but by and large, people have out of network benefits. So if the provider is good enough, if they experience and create more value, the average patient or customer is willing to at least see what that difference might be. Maybe it's going to be a little bit more out of pocket, maybe not. But they're
yeah.
at least willing to stop because they're like, "Dr. Smith, I like you. I don't wanna find a new dentist.
A hundred
Okay, I
percent.
wanna stay with you, but what does that look like for me?" And then we
Right.
have those discussions, and I train the team on how to have those discussions and how to, again, make it a delightful experience for patients, not a headache. So, that's sort of how it evolves.
No, that makes sense. And I think personally, if I have that experience built up with my provider and that's who I've been going to, and, I could save $100 by going somewhere else that I have no idea about, I'm going to spend the extra $150 to stay with the people I know and trust and have done good work in my, like you said, intimate area of my mouth. Like you can't just randomly go somewhere and feel comfortable. So I think it's very, very important.
Well, and we're not selling shampoo here, right? Like, this is a service. People can mess up your healthcare. And especially with teeth, like you don't get new ones. So you either like fix the ones you have well, or you can risk like permanent damage. Like the surgery that's being done on teeth is irreversible. So it does matter where you go. It's like it's a service, not a commodity. So we need to be really trusting and feel good about the quality of care that we're getting. Otherwise, it's going to cost us more to fix it later, or we could have ongoing health issues later if it's not done right. So it matters.
Yeah. I still remember a couple years ago, I had a crown and they got it done at the lab. I came back to the office to get it put on and it was a little tight, but I was like, I drove 40 minutes. So I was like, no, it's okay. Like, just put it in. And they were like, I can't. They were like, I can't. I would feel wrong about it. This could cause issues with your teeth. Like, it is
Yeah.
too tight. It wasn't done correctly. We need to get a new mold. And I was just like, well, see, this is why I love you guys. Cause I would say just throw the thing in so I can
Good
go
enough.
on with my day.
And you could have, I mean, you could have lost that tooth, like worst case scenario, like that would be
Yeah.
awful, right? But like if you just let something fester that's not right, you can literally lose your tooth. And then now you got to deal with a missing tooth or get an implant. And that costs a lot more to deal with than just fixing the tooth the right way the first time.
Yeah, I know. I listened to him.
Good job.
Nice. So, no, that's awesome, and it makes a lot of sense. So, by fixing these issues, you can drive not only more clients in, keep more clients, you can also look to bring in some of those ones that have out of network, and now you don't have to take the lower adjustments on those. So, fast forwarding now to kind of challenges and lessons learned. I feel like this is always great to hear about. What was, I think, the biggest challenge that you had to face in, those first 5 years or so?
Yeah.
That could be, I'll just let you handle it. What do you think the biggest challenge was?
Well, I think the first thing was figuring out how, like, what do clients need and how can I take what I've learned and make that accessible for them? So changing up like what I thought I would be giving them program wise. So
So
that's
being
been,
adaptive.
yeah. So being adaptive and adjusting to what people are wanting to buy and want and needing, what's going to be helpful, what are they going to invest in? And then also I think like really getting clear on like my own priorities. Like initially when I started consulting, I was like, I took on more of a passive role, if you will. Like, oh, if a client comes, great. But
Right.
I was really still tied to our dental practice initially. And I know a lot of people start off like this. Like it's like a side hustle, maybe like, oh, I'll just take on a few clients and
100%.
grow naturally, but I can't really afford to go all in. I'm just going to keep my other day thing that's easy and I'll just like grow it here. And what I found was it's really difficult to grow it when it's on the side. Unless it's your plan A, it's probably not going to take off. Like the second I got clear on this is what I'm doing full time,
Preach.
I'm gonna put it all in and boom, it takes off. But it took me years to feel comfortable enough to take that jump and to know that I guess, believe in myself enough to know that that was going to be sustainable. And then the other lesson is like, oh, okay, now I'm really busy. So now what? I'm like the primary parent in our family. My husband's a dentist. We have a very busy dental practice thanks to a lot of the work that I've done with our practice, adjusting to that and figuring out, okay, how can I scale and be profitable and not, abandon my family? And so that's part of why I now work with Triage Business Consultants. So it's still my autonomy. It's still my own consultancy. I don't have to work for anybody else, but I joined two other consultants that do different things but we can share clients and really provide a comprehensive support system for clients so that it's less for me each month with a particular client. Like they take a piece of it, I take a piece of it, and then we can really provide them a great service, but it's less intense than if I had that client all on my own because I have two other consultants doing complementary things that really help everyone. And so that's been a huge factor in my scalability. The other thing was like, how do I even like get clients? Like that was a challenge. Like
Right.
I could work with any healthcare practice across the country.
So
How
how
do I?
that's like it's a huge net here. It's like I don't
Yeah,
need
but like
to.
I only need like 10 to 20 of them. Like I don't need 100,000 clients. I just need a handful of really, really good ones. And so that was a challenge initially too to figure out. And then networking really became the secret sauce on that. It's like, okay, other consultants that are doing other things that know these doctors, they can refer me once they know what I do and the value that I can bring. And so it really,
Mm.
that's my marketing plan. I mean, I do some other marketing too, but the majority of how I get clients is word of mouth and through referral partnerships with other consultants. So that's been a huge growth factor.
Nice. And I think touching back on what you were talking about in the beginning there, I mean, so do you look back on those first, what was the period before you decided like, okay, I'll just do this on the side and then here I'm all in?
It was way too long. I mean, I hate to admit, I mean, it was probably for like the first, yeah, first 4 to 5 years that I just like, I mean, I did okay. I had clients. I was learning, but I wasn't fully invested. And it was actually harder. It was more stressful to try to do multiple things and like be partly invested. Like once I decided,
Yeah.
okay, in the last like 4 years, I've been like, wow, like this is what I do. This is what I do with my time. This is how I grow my business. Yeah, I went far too long in that kind of painful state of trying to do it all.
Probably a lot easier before because you were like, well, so hey, Jessica, what do you do? Well, I do this, I do this. It's like, yeah. So looking back on it, do you wish you kind of made that jump a little bit sooner?
I mean, of course, hindsight's 2020, but I also think like every part of the journey provides like a layer of growth and a layer of learning. And so I don't know. I mean, I think it all made sense the way it went. And luckily we've been able to feed our family, and it's not like it ever was a dire situation that like, "Oh gosh, if I'd only done that differently, we'd be at a different."
Yeah.
It's been okay. I think the biggest thing about business entrepreneurship is like it's like a personal journey. It's not just like growing a business. You're like growing yourself. You're getting out of your own way in a lot of ways and, stretching yourself into growth areas that you maybe, didn't expect or kind of are uncomfortable with. And until you're ready to do those things, like it just can't happen. You have to be like ready to take on that personal growth to get to that business point of growth.
Okay. So would that be kind of advice for somebody, that's maybe, in that same position? I think a lot of people and entrepreneurs are where it's more of a side hustle right now. They're working on it. They still have their job. What would your advice then be to, you know, wait until you're ready to take on that personal growth along with growing that business? Or when do you think would be the right time? Or what advice would you have to somebody that's, kind of in that boat of, I got a side hustle and I'm just not sure when I should really go all in?
Yeah, God, I feel like it's a personal decision on like the when, but I feel like you kind of start to know, right? Like it's like that burning of like, I hate what I'm doing. I really want to do this. I have so much passion. I think like in my 20s and 30s, I kind of was like, I'll just, follow the plan. I'm a type A person. I'm an achiever. I'll just do. And like into my late 30s and now early 40s, I've like trusted my intuition more and like that burning of like, this is a passion, a lot of energy I have here. And I need somewhere to, I need it to grow. I need somewhere to put it. And I think when that gets bigger than the scared part of yourself that
Yeah,
doesn't want
that
to,
fear. Oh yeah, failure.
yeah, that wants like that stability. And when one gets bigger than the other, then you've got to go, okay, I'm ready to jump. And so I think if you're still in that scared state and you don't have that burn, it's a harder leap to make and you might not be as successful because you're not ready. You don't have that desire, that passion built up enough to to make that bridge, I guess, more attainable, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I feel like it's the days get long, you're still going to have things going on, kids, 9 to 5, other things. So if without that burning desire, that energy to wake you up every day and keep you up at night,
Yep.
it might not be the time until you have that.
Exactly. And but realize that like trying to do two things is harder than doing one really
It's
well,
true.
right? Like so it's like you can work full time and then, have this much time carved out for the side hustle and you're actually probably putting in I mean, you're still going to have to put in a lot of hours to build something, that's just
Meaningful.
right. But also if that's what you're meant to do and that's like where your passion is, like that's going to be way more fun doing all that than trying to do like a lot of the mundane stuff and a little bit of that. So it's
a
like you just need to
100%.
have that drive and that passion to put it all there and know that, you know, you're going to do what you can. You're going to do whatever you have to do not to fail. Like failure
That's
is just
true.
kind of stopping at a certain point. Like if you don't stop, then you don't fail. You keep moving, you keep growing.
100%. If you don't stop, you don't fail.
Right.
So, focusing here on our last topic I wanted to cover is industry trends. Shifts you're seeing. It can be in healthcare, it can be in dentistry. I know on our previous call you talked a little bit about you've seen a lot of people lately kind of burnt out, or how technology is changing. What are you seeing in terms of trends in the industry?
Well, I mean, to what you do, AI obviously is huge right now. And I think there's so many ways that we can utilize it and leverage it to be better, to be more efficient. I do see a ton of burnout in healthcare. And I think providers are just like, they've kind of lost that why they started in a way. Like they're just so, especially when like a seasoned provider, they get into the motions, like their business is going well, but they kind of feel like they're trapped in it. Like it's going well enough, but like where's the passion? And so I think like bringing it back to personalized care, and I mean that's why I'm a huge advocate for private healthcare, because I think that's where providers can really make a huge difference in terms of doing it the way that they want, doing it with integrity. It's still a business, but it's patients first, it's patient centric. I think we're going to see a lot more of a shift there, because to be honest, like our health systems are pretty broken right now, and it's just kind of a mess. And the business of healthcare has really taken over. Like, how can we make more money? How can we run more tests? How can we charge more to insurance?
Yeah. No,
And
I can.
people are just like fed up with it, the patients and the providers. And so I think we're going to see a shift in private practice healthcare. And I'm super excited for that, because that's what I love to help be a part of and help make better. And I think it's just gotten bad enough that we're ready for that.
We are so ready for that. I had a knee injury a couple weeks ago. Went to the ortho. He was like, can't see anything on the X-ray. Might need to get an MRI. But your bone looks healthy. Do you want like a brace in the meantime? It might help. And I was like, what do you think? He was like, yeah. I mean, it could help. I get the bill back from this brace, mind you. Amazon $22, Walmart like $26. $179 that they charge my insurance company, and my insurance wants to split it down the middle for half. It's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
I believe it. I couldn't believe it. So I think a lot of people are feeling the pain of just this healthcare system is kind of getting a little bit out of control. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you could shed more light on it. I don't know why it's happening, but it's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I'm not an insurance expert by any means, but I do see I think the insurance companies are the ones really winning in a lot
Oh,
of this. I
I
mean,
bet.
and I don't know, but I think like there's a lot of kickbacks that doctors get. I've heard. I mean, I've heard that they get kickbacks for running certain labs and prescribing certain meds and
Yeah.
all these things. And it's like people are just in it to make money versus what does the patient actually need? And could that doctor have said, like, hey, a brace would help. Here's a few options of where you can get one, as
Yeah.
opposed to because now you're angry. And are you going to trust what he says? Next time he mentions something, you're going to be like, wait a minute, I'm going to do my own research, because if I'd done that, then I wouldn't have spent all that money on this brace I could have gotten for $20, right? So
I never want to go back there.
yeah, it eroded trust. And so now you're skeptical, and you should be. And so when doctors can start making those autonomous decisions and recommendations for patients, what people actually need, and make the patient experience better, now we're going to have loyal patients again and people that trust in what we're saying. Otherwise, we're creating people that are going to be skeptical, and they should.
Yeah, and they should. So when talking about the provider burnout, is there any way, like, how do you fix that? I mean, I feel like everybody in their business, they want to, have the best business that they possibly can. They want to have happy patients. They want to have, a lot of patients, right? So that their business is thriving. How do you, how do you work with, provider that's struggling with burnout while he is trying to also scale and take on more patients? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, this will sound kind of silly simple, but I mean, a lot of things are. I think most of the time when people hit burnout, they've kind of lost sight of what they actually want. I mean, I could ask that same doctor, like, okay, how many new patients are you getting a month and how many do you want? And they might say, well, I'm averaging 20 new patients a month. I really want 40. And then I'm like, okay. And then, but you're really burnt out and you feel like you're working too much. What do you really want? Well, I'd love to work just like 3 days a week. Okay. Well, then how do you see 40 patients working? You know what I mean? Like once we
Exactly,
really
that's where
go,
my head is going. I'm like, "That
what
doesn't
do
work."
you actually want? Do you think you want more patients because you think that will make you more money, or that you need more patients to have a sustainable practice? Because you could see less patients and make the same amount of money. If you really want to work 3 days a week, and make the same amount of money, we can make that happen. That's a different scenario. That's a different equation, right? So it's figuring out what they actually want. And I think finding that passion again for why they started is usually where we can decide, okay, what needs to shift in the business and what needs to shift with your patients and your patient experience and your team and how they're trained to achieve what you actually want. Because when you get what you want, you're usually not burnt out. You're usually on fire. You're in flow. So it's figuring that out.
That's true. If you're at your goal, this is like what you actually truly desire and you want, there's no reason to feel burned out. You're like, this is everything I've worked for and this is what I want. Until obviously, you get comfortable. Maybe a year goes by and you're like, I want bigger.
Now I
And
want
then
more. And that's fine. Like that's part of I just finished a book called The Gap and the Gain. And it was really insightful because it's really like we always are striving for the next thing. We're always looking at, well, at the end of the year, I want to be at this point. Well, we're looking at the gap versus looking to see like where did I come from 2 years ago? Look at that gain and really focusing on that. And when we actually have focus on the gain, we increase the gain and we get to where we kind of want to get faster by focusing on
on
the good things as opposed to like what we
the
still
gap.
are trying to achieve. And so it's a mind game in a way. So much of the problems people face, so they're getting in their own way. I mean, that's how most people are struggling.
Yeah, but focusing on a positive side of things, I think we all it's hard. It's so much easier to look at the gaps and the problems and the things that you could fix to take a step back and look at all that growth or look at that. It's harder to do that.
It
I feel
is.
like we're programmed more on the negative to look at the negatives.
Totally. That's our human nature. And we have to retrain ourselves and really put in some like intentional practices to acknowledge the gain, to be grateful, to have gratitude. It's the same in relationships too, right? Like the more we focus on the great things about our partner, well, guess what? Our partner looks greater versus like focusing on the nitpicky things that bug us about each other. Now we're going to be frustrated with each other. It's like that with our teams, with our personal relationships, as well as like how we want our business to evolve.
Yeah. Last thing on the industry and trends, going back to that AI or technology, do you foresee it having a big impact on some of these private practices? Or do you feel like maybe people are going to overestimate how much it's going to actually move the needle? What's your thoughts on AI and in that industry?
I think it's huge. I think if we can leverage the AI tools that are available now and that we haven't even thought of yet that are yet to come, we can create some really amazing efficiencies. We can streamline some of the things that maybe bog us down. And that gives us more time to actually care for people and interact with people. So that's the thing I think a lot of people don't realize. If we go too much into AI and like automating everything, we can lose that human component. And so let's use it, let's leverage it the ways we can. And then that gives us more time for that humanity and that human component. So I think it's both. And I think it's going to shift in a really positive way for those providers that can embrace it.
I like that. So you leverage it to streamline some things so that you have more time and energy to focus on the actual client and customers and experience. You're
Exactly.
not, necessarily streamlining their process because, they're dealing with a robot. They're not dealing with you. It's probably not very personable.
Right.
But I gotta imagine on the like billing and coding and some of those side of things
Gosh.
that yeah, I don't know how bogged down you get, but I imagine it could be pretty heavy.
Oh, yeah, even just in like, using it for, getting people reestablished, to remind them they're due for things, to confirm their appointments, to send them statements, to yeah, make sure that if you are dealing with insurance, make sure the claim is clean before it's sent, to correspond with other doctors, right? There's so many ways we can use AI where we don't need that human emotional, interaction. We can use it for some of those like system processes, but
Yeah,
then
and you don't lose anything on that client experience that you're trying to, like, really highlight.
exactly.
Nice. Yeah, I think that could work out well too. And finally, last one, looking ahead, we were just talking about the gap and the gain. Now, we're kind of coming up here on the end of 2025. Do you look back on this year as a good gain? And then what are we looking at in terms of 2026?
Yes, I definitely see this year as a gain for sure. And, something that's been on my heart to be involved in is in the world of infertility. My husband and I struggled to have our family. And so, I've lived through infertility and different treatments and all the things that you have to go through. And to be able to speak to that like patient side of it, as well as utilize my background as a psychologist to help the infertility teams do it more compassionately, better, that actually helps outcomes too. So it's good for everybody. So it's on my heart in 2026 to work in the field of infertility and speak on the topic, as well as work directly with teams. Like I just think that would be so much fun and so rewarding and such a full circle kind of situation. So that's on my goal list. But I mean, otherwise, I think I shared with you, like, again, I'm kind of going back to like where the passion is and the energy leads. I'm on board for whatever. I mean, I don't know what my business is going to look like in 5 years because if I look 5 years back, I wouldn't have guessed that I'd be doing what I'm doing either. So I'm just kind of along for the ride. I'm going to keep adjusting as I need to, adjusting those sales and going where the energy leads me. And I just keep finding really great things. So yeah.
Nice. I think, I mean, follow the energy, follow your passion, and you just see where you end up. It's worked for you so far. I don't see why it would stop working anytime soon.
Yeah. And then, I mean, it's collaborating too. It's collaborating with people like you and other consultants and, really trying to help others, because if I can help somebody else, then they're going to probably at some point help me, like, or even maybe they won't, but like I do believe in karma and reciprocity. And so the more I can give of myself, the more it can return to me at some point. And the cycle of life kind of just keeps rolling. And something I haven't mentioned yet, but you know, networking and collaborating with others, I've just found to be so important. And I didn't have a vehicle within the healthcare realm where I felt like there was a group that was doing that for one another. And so I
Hmm.
started it because I was like, this is what I need. And so I'm just going to create it. It doesn't exist. I tried to find something like it, doesn't exist. So I created a healthcare networking collective where I bring in consultants and experts from all different industries that are working. We're all working with similar clients, and then
Hmm.
when our clients have a particular need that we don't support, now I've got a bag of resources that I can, connect them to. And so that's really been really rewarding as well to kind of be the curator of that collection of people that can help one another to grow in business.
So that would be, I was going to ask, what would be some advice for listeners? And I think that's a good one. So networking is very important. Give
It's
yourself
huge.
to others.
Yes, it's huge. It's huge. And, seeing what you can do to help others first is really paramount. So if you have anyone that's listening that's in the healthcare realm or wants to get in that vertical, that my healthcare networking collective, there's information on that on my website in the networking tab. But we love to have people visit the group. We meet once a month, and then we do quarterly masterminds and quarterly showcases where we talk more in depth about each business. But
Mhm.
find a group of people that you can collaborate with, that you can, share the celebration, the successes, and also the hardships. Because when we can kind of come together in a larger way, it just allows us to expand even more than trying to do it all on our own or trying to figure out these challenges on our own.
Definitely. So if somebody was listening and they wanted to, they resonated with that group, how would they be able to get in touch with you or join that group? What would be the best way?
Yeah. So if they go to martinmanagementllc.com and then click on the networking tab, and then all of the information about the collective is there. And then we can get them invited to the next meeting and they can check it out and see if it's a good fit.
Nice. And if you are going to view this on LinkedIn or YouTube, I'll put Jessica's LinkedIn there in the bio. But if you're on Spotify, you'll have to click more details and you'll be able to click one of the links and you'll find her website and you'll find her LinkedIn. So if you want to reach out and say you enjoyed this episode or you know what, I want to join that group, whatever it could be, she'd be happy to get any sort of outreach.
And
But
I get spammed all the time. I'm sure everybody does, right? So
yes,
so if let me know, like, hey, I know Nick, or I listened to this podcast and this is why I'm contacting you. If you're just like
yes,
sending me like a sales pitch, I will not respond. Like I will delete because it's like there's so much noise. Like, I really want to like get to know people and form
yes.
relationships. And I just need that little bit of a personal touch. Otherwise it will go probably unnoticed, if you will.
Yeah, as soon as LinkedIn sees your, CEO or self-employed or,
Yeah.
the messages are never endless.
Yeah.
So, totally get that. But this was an awesome conversation. I want to thank you for joining me today. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on, and well, at least kids just went back to school, so it's a little bit
Yes.
lighter now.
Yes.
But either way, I mean, I think it was a very insightful conversation, and I'm just really glad to have the opportunity to talk with you.
Yes. Thank you, Nick.